What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Titus, and so for those of you who may be savvy enough, I'm actually recording this right after my last video because this was something I had wanted to touch on, but kind of got caught up in the moment of the last video and then wasn't sure if I wanted to add this in at the very end or if I wanted to just make this a whole other video because I had noticed something. All right, I had noticed something and it made me feel things, okay? It made me feel in my feelers right here in the chest. When I first saw it, I was elated. Oh my God, this is so good. And then I got mad. I got really, really mad. And here's why. I'll explain it to you guys. So, ever since I stopped being lazy and using the auto engrave feature and I actually decided to, pick my ass up and try to, actually do my own runing and stuff, I was going through my artifacts because runes. Artifacts is another thing, actually, as a side tangent. These look really cool. But these specifically, I'm probably going to need to look something up because this is like a whole lot of stuff. And then I look at it. These are, so you have artifacts. You have specific artifacts, right? So these can only be equipped to fire because it says fire exclusive, water monster exclusive. And then no, we don't want but then you have HP. So I'm guessing, yeah. So everything's kind of exclusive to, I don't know what the intent. Oh, okay. So all attributes and then all types. Gotcha. So you have your attribute ones and your type ones down here. But then I don't know. I'm kind of afraid to equip them because when for instance, when I left click on this, it kind of, you know how there's like the 2 next to the accuracy, the 1 near the own turn CD and stuff like that. I'm afraid that it's just like do I get all of these? Are they random? These seem pretty rare, so I don't want to just kind of throw them around all willy-nilly. So yeah, that's something I'll actually specifically just have to look up a guide or something, right? Another YouTuber. But I noticed something under runes because somebody had kind of in one of the videos mentioned how, or actually a few people had mentioned how for the auto engrave feature, I could set settings. Where was it? It was under here. It's under here somewhere. Oh yeah, the rune advanced settings. And I guess this is for the auto engrave, right? Or am I tripping? Because I'm assuming that's what that is, right? So this is the auto engrave feature, or this is where you can like set values and stuff. So that was pretty cool, right? I think, personally speaking, if they moved this rune advanced setting to the auto engrave here, maybe you kind of put it right there, maybe that would just kind of fix up the confusion a little bit. Hey, just saying, hey, don't slaughter me. I'm just saying.
Move this man.
Feels like it would make more sense in that menu, but that, I get it. I know. However, that's not what we're here to talk about. In fact, I'm here to glaze this game like a fucking donut. That's right. I just swore. I think it's like the first time I've ever sworn on the channel, but that's how many feelings I felt in my heart and bones. Because as I was kind of working through these runes, because I realized that I hadn't even really leveled runes because the game gives you a ton of like already maxed out runes. So I hadn't even really messed with leveling runes. Okay. And as you can see here, this kind of plays into what I was talking about. I realized we have a couple side menus here. We got the power up, very classic. Just level up the rune, right? Every game's got this. Raid's got it. Element Fission's got it. Summoner's War was the first, the granddaddy. Then we have the reappraisal. This also exists in all the other games. We have this in Raid, and as a side tangent, kind of appreciate how the fact where there's just kind of one reappraisal rune gem thing currency that I could tell. Right? If I go here, is it the same thing? It is. If I go here, is it the same thing? It is. So that's nice, because in Raid, it's we have these things called ores, and the ores are specific to not only the rarity, but the star value of the piece. Now, the thing is, you know, as you kind of level up, you know, if I just do this right here, right? I'm just going to do this for the sake of doing it, just to, you know, you see how the rarity went up to whatever that would be, legendary, right? We don't really have that in terms of like, Raid doesn't have that. Even if you bring it to 50, it's 15 in Summoner's War, it's 16 in Raid. That's always going to be a blue rare piece, right? And so our reappraisal stuff, our currency, is tied to the star value and the rarity. So you might have a really good piece you want to reappraise, because it does the same thing. It just wipes all the secondary stats and just leaves the flat, you know, the one flat stat. Although ours also actually changes. So actually, one thing, we're gonna learn this stuff. You guys are gonna watch me learn. So it doesn't look like it, because I'm pretty sure. Let's just look up, you know, HP, because I get confused sometimes where the percentage stats can go, the speed and all that stuff. They work the exact same way in Raid. It's just they're placed differently, and so it's very hard sometimes for me not to get confused by that. You know, years of being kind of, I guess, conditioned. The reappraisal just wipes the secondary stats but keeps the main stat. I actually prefer that, because in our game it wipes everything. In Raid, it just wipes the main stat, the secondary stats. You know, God help you. All right, if you and you can only, I actually haven't tested it here, but I don't know, can you reappraise more than once? In Raid you can't. It's your one and done. So if you take a bad piece of gear, basically we kind of use it as like, if you get a quad roll in something but it's a bad stat, so you, let's say you get like a quad roll in flat attack, you can try to roll to see if you can at least get a quad roll in a serviceable stat. It almost never works. It's a waste of time, and it'll make you hate yourself. So the way Summoner's War handles that is 10 times better. That's right. I'm glazing it like a donut. I don't care. You know why? Because like donuts. You know, I worked at a Dunkin' Donuts when I was a kid, and now just smelling a donut, being within a 5-mile radius of a donut, makes me feel ill and irrationally angry. I don't know. Yeah, just ruined donuts for me. Anyway, we're glazing because I found this right here. And I should have been paying attention, but I'll be honest with you. When you're a new player, okay, like this is the authentic noob experience. When you're a new player and a game throws 100,000 resources at you all within the first hour of you playing, your brain kind of shuts off, because it's way too much to process. I could not begin to try and imagine keeping track of all this stuff. So I know that I had gotten some of these things, but I stopped. I didn't pay attention to any of them because there's just so much stuff flying at my face. And I realized, one, you can upgrade further the secondary stats on a piece of gear if you have the right associated gem. That's pretty good. But even better, and I'll grab this piece. Am I going to do it? Probably not, because this is actually, well, no, this is actually a really crap piece now that I'm looking at it. Flat HP percentage with I mean, HP nuker, speed. Anyway, we're not here to evaluate this piece of gear. Then I noticed that there's a convert thing. And I realized that I could take a bad stat that I don't want and put in a stat that I do want. Look, I understand, and kind of the purpose of this series and all the Summoner's War stuff I'm doing is kind of for a bit for you guys to laugh at my mind-blowing realizations. I didn't even consider that I could make a bad piece decent, or a decent piece good, or a good piece godlike. You know, it's kind of like you live in a cave, and the cave is all you know. And when you leave the cave, it's scary, and at first you want to go back into the cave. But then once you're outside of the cave for long enough, you start to realize that there's a sky and stars, and you start to realize all the BS of the game you came from. My mind was blown. My mind was actually blown, because let me paint a picture for you. Let's say you've been farming this dungeon for 3 days straight, and you're really trying to get a decent chess piece for a stun set because you need it for PvP. And like, let's say that you get the chess piece and it's HP percentage, there's some speed, accuracy, resistance, right? All the stats you really wanted for PvP. And then in the fourth stat, it's flat attack. And now what could have been a account changing, the magnum opus of my account is now kind of like, And here's the thing, you're not going to use an ore to change the substats because, well, that would just be silly. Then you could get a really crap. You could turn a pretty good piece into a decent piece. But instead there's a system that other games have come up with where if I have this HP percentage, speed, yeah. Accuracy, yeah. Crit rate, okay, now we're talking about, maybe some HP. This is HP nuker stats with, he's got a debuff that you want to land. And then it's got HP percentage and you're like, well, that is just a wasted stat. I could turn this attack into crit damage. I know it seems like I'm exaggerating, and a little bit I am, but realistically, the reason I got mad is because it reminds me of the countless hours I've spent in Raid trying to get the perfect piece when you can just create the perfect piece. You don't have to run the hamster wheel for weeks. You just have to run it for a couple days, maybe. Every game should have this at base, no questions asked. None. No questions asked. Now, I said a lot of things, okay? And I meant them. Especially one of the divisive ones talking about a pity system. People did not like that. Well, that's not true. It was kind of divided with most things. Everyone's an individual. So there were some people who really didn't like the idea of a pity system. There were some people who preferred not to have a pity system. There have been some people who were like, yeah, a pity system would make the game feel a little bit better at times. Divisive. I will be honest with you. would rather, I think it depends. If the game, much like Summoner's War has, again, I will say it's overwhelming it a bit, but they do shower you in goodies. They give you a lot of free stuff. They set you up to succeed pretty well. I would rather have that and being able to handcraft gear to an extent. I think I would take those two things. I don't know. Would I take them versus a pity system? It's close. It's close because one of them definitely feels like it respects me more. I think perfect image, maybe you have both, but the fact that I don't need to spend nearly as much time and effort on gear, and in a lot of ways, gear being way more important than the champions that you have. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I think about the countless hours I've spent grinding dungeons, far more than you guys can understand. Because for us over in Raid, that is our hamster wheel. You will farm. Well, it was until they added new sets, and then the new sets were just unequivocally better than, kind of completely invalidated the weeks of time anyway. Every game should have that. No questions asked. Ridiculous amounts of time farming gear when you can add. No. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you like the video. All that fancy YouTube stuff, it really means a lot to me, and I can't even begin to explain to you guys how much I appreciate all the love and support that y'all have been coming out for. Anyway, that's been it for me. I've been Titus, and until next time, I'll see you guys.